All right, welcome back to episode 2 of Overtime Insights. I was debating about doing this show tonight because I'm not trying to do it every night, but I said today if the Red Wings win tonight, I'll record. And they won. They won. They had a very grinding game against a much better, more improved Columbus Blue Jackets. You know, if it was a Blue Jackets of last year, I would have said, like, like they should have won. But Blue Jackets lately, they've been playing good hockey lately. They've been playing solid hockey. They're trying to make a comeback, be more relevant. But they both teams fought to the very end, and we'll get to that in a moment. But first, we'll get into the final college quarterfinal matchup between Notre Dame and Georgia. Uh, this one was a very defensive game, very very defensive heavy game. Both offenses were not that talented, but they showed you have a good defense, you can win the game, and it was just which defense can hold it better. And Notre Dame, they looked good. They looked very, very good. I was very impressed with their defense, and I think I would like to see them play. I think them and Ohio State would be a good matchup. I think those are my locks. I don't think Penn State can beat uh, Notre Dame, and I don't think is it Texas? Yeah, Texas. Yeah, I don't think Texas can beat Ohio State either. So I think it's going to be Ohio State and Notre Dame in the finals, but that's for another day. So let's just get into this game. So what happened with this? We had like I said before, very heavy defensive matchup. It was 3-3 throughout all of the first half up until the very end. When Notre Dame scored 17 points in just 54 seconds. They get a 48-yard field goal by Mitch Jeter, followed by a fumble recovery after R.J. Oben's strip sack of Gunnar Stockton. And that was followed by a 13-yard touchdown pass from Riley Leonard to Bo Collins. And so you got all that happening, and then right away, to start out the second half, Jaden Harrison, 98 yards, kickoff return for a touchdown. That's how they were gonna have to score, because Georgia's defense wasn't gonna let them score that much, and they didn't. You know, Georgia's defense held their own. All they allowed as far as their defense, they only allowed a field goal. It was their special teams that allowed that touchdown. But as strong as Georgia's defense was, particularly Walker, that guy's a good player. He's going to be good on someone's team. He's a good defensive player. But Notre Dame's defense held strong and very critical on their fourth down stoppage. Very good play. So I think Notre Dame's defense isn't to sleep on. They definitely proved their worth. How good they are. And now I guess the one question with this game is, how different would this have been had Carson Beck was healthy. It's got to be different. Probably their offense would have been much, much more fluid. Give credit to Gunnar Stockton trying, had 234 in the air and touchdown, but, Georgia's offense just didn't look the same. Running game wasn't that great. But, I don't want to take away from Notre Dame's defense. They outplayed them. They outplayed Georgia. Held them to a total 296 yards, total yards. And never converted the fourth down. Absolutely impressive by Notre Dame. They well-deserved victory. And they got their turnovers as well, forcing 3 fumbles, recovering 2 of them. Run defense was just impressive. Only 69 yards on 28 carries. Very, very impressive with them. But like I said earlier, how would this have affected with Carson Beck being out? But with Gunnar Stockton being so limited, having so much limited experience, they could not show any consistency in this game. The Georgia's offense relied a lot on under Beck, and now they had to pretty much change their whole strategy. They had to basically work with what was best for Stockton, not what they've been doing before. They had to go with what he was practicing under, and not much playing time for Stockton. You got to rely on him to be your guy during the playoffs. It's tough. It's tough, especially with how good Notre Dame's defense was. I think if they played a team where their defense wasn't as sound as theirs, I think they maybe they had a chance. But Notre Dame was too solid of a defense to allow any success for Stockton. Another incident that happened during certain Georgia player got some fame, unwanted fame. Parker Jones, whew. A redshirt sophomore cornerback. He's on the sidelines cheering his team, making a big play. They had a very big pass, a 66-yard pass to Arian Smith. And you're thinking, oh man, Georgia's about to score. They're knocking on the door. And then you see a late flag. Was it pass interference? What was it? Holding? What was it? No, it was a sideline interference penalty. And you watch the replay, you could see Parker Jones just right in the way of the sideline judge. And that play cost them 10 yards. So instead of being on the 12-yard line, they went to the 26-yard line. And this is what, I guess that penalty ruined their momentum because they didn't score. They didn't get a touchdown. They settled for a field goal instead. and they showed this guy a lot during the game, and the way social media looked at it, I don't think they didn't really they weren't upset with Parker or Jones. It was more upset with ESPN of like how many times do you need to show this kid, like, just it's over, like he's not part of the game. He's not going to have any other part of the game. But not the way you want to get your name to be known, especially that on that big of a stage like that. But anyways, sometime after that final game, there was a story that came out of the SEC commissioner Greg Sankey. He expressed a strong desire to change the college football playoff bracket format for 2025, citing the evolving landscape of college football conferences. Sankey argues that the existing 12-team playoff format, which he helped create in 2020-2021, was designed for a different era. It assumed 5 relatively balanced power conferences, which is no longer the case. Recent conference realignments have strengthened the Big Ten and SEC at the expense of other conferences. Which, yeah, like Pac-12 is no longer. I know they want to try to come back, but they're not going to be what they were before. They all moved. They're, the top Pac-12 teams are now in the Big Ten, and then the remainders are elsewhere, mainly in the Big 12. And then you have, and those, the teams that were the top teams in the Big 12 recently, they moved to the SEC, Oklahoma and Texas. So the proposed changes to that is, he hasn't outlined specific changes, but he does think a need to reassess the first round bye rule for conference champions, potential reseeding after the first round, and he wants a desire for a competitive and fair format that reflects the current conference dynamics. And from Sankey's perspective, he says, I've not had a lot of conversations yet about people's interest in adapting. I would hope there is interest, he states. He emphasized that while the 12-team playoff has worked, there's a need to learn and then adjust, which I agree. Sankey also noted that the current format has led to the displacement of several SEC teams from the playoff, arguing that not all things are created equal or formed equally. So he basically wants, he wants more. He believes that SEC has more competition, or have better competition than the other conferences. And I get that too. I said in the last episode, I think Boise should have had a first round bye, and Arizona State maybe they didn't deserve to have a first round bye, but how do you, who do you put in? And if you're gonna replace these teams, their strength of schedule needs to be better too. I don't think Texas played the best SEC teams this year. Yes, they played Michigan, but they didn't have a heavily strength SEC schedule. Another thing I'd like to see with this too is I want to see if they're gonna have these top Big Ten and SEC that are considered to be the top conferences, then they need to stop playing smaller schools. don't play the small. Don't no more small schools. I get it's good for them, but if you're gonna play them first game. Now, recently I've worked on a vision of how to redo the college football format, and I want to make a video of how I would like to see the college football be, to have a more balanced and competitive. It's gonna be very different, and it's gonna be a pretty lengthy video. Uh, but hopefully it can be a talking point, and hopefully maybe you could see if this could work. I would like to see this work, but I'll have that video out shortly. Um, but I think that we need to have a change of how the college football layout it should be. Now that will come soon. But moving forward, as the reason why we are having this episode tonight, it's about the Red Wings. Headed to Columbus. And I said before, Columbus has been a better team lately. They've had a pretty respectable record. Then they were coming off a big win against Carolina, I want to say. Yep, they had a nice win over Carolina, and game started out not good for the Wings. Too many men on the ice penalty, and that got Columbus to score their first goal. But what I liked after that was the Red Wings' response. And how they respond? Scoring 3 in the first period. And that's what you want to see when you get to that point, and you want to see that response. You don't want to like something like that get you down. So that shows me that there's some motivation behind the bench of Tom McYellen. So I like that a lot. However, second period, not good. Columbus ties it up. Now it's 3-3. So now, you're trying to see, all right, what's your team going to be made of? Can Detroit pull out a win out of this? Well, that was answered by Larkin scoring off a power play. Now he went on a 16-game goal drought. Now he's got 2 goals in 2 games. That's what I like to see. Speaking of a goal streak, Patrick Kane, I think he's on a 3-game goal streak. I like that a lot. I like that a whole lot. Gustafsson had a goal today. He had a wicked shot. I liked his goal a lot as well. Brinkat had a nice goal. Very happy with the goal scoring today. But back to the game. Columbus ties it up 4-4. Looking like we're going to go into overtime. And before, after the Columbus goal, Todd McYellen had a challenge. And maybe it was goaltending interference, but I didn't see, just from what I looked at, I didn't see any definitive to overturn it. And that was pretty risky because, if you do a coach's challenge and you lose, the other team gets a power play. And at the very end of the game, it's costly. And they were on a power play for the majority of the remaining of the game. And as soon as the power play was over, Columbus takes a shot. Ben Sherratt blocks it with his back. Tyler Mott gets the puck and passes it right to Jonathan Bergen. And he goes on a breakaway and scores. It just breaks the hearts of Columbus. They thought they had momentum on their side, and they did. They were They were looking to win that game, and all of a sudden, just those quick turnaround, and Jonathan scores the game-winning goal. Happy for him. Happy for him. He's gotten some goals too under McKellen. So happy to see these players show out. And that's what I like. Like I think if this game was coached under Lalonde, I think they would have given up. I don't. First of all, I wouldn't see them scoring 3 goals in the first period. I wouldn't have seen that. I think if that happened, if Lalonde was coach, I think that would have gotten them down. And we probably could have lost that game 4-0. But I think McMillan has been a good motivator for this team, and now we're on a 3-game winning streak. Much better, much better. This is what I wanted to see. So happy they're able to get this win. Now we got their upcoming is Winnipeg. They did lose to the Ducks tonight. Wasn't overtime, but they lost. Hopefully they can have a losing streak starting up. That'd be great. I would love that a lot. But, Winnipeg's been playing well, and all I hope for out of their game against Winnipeg is be competitive. Just be competitive. And show grit, show heart that you had today's game. Just be competitive. That's all I'm asking for this year. If it leads to a wild card spot, great. But I'm not counting on it. I just want you to be competitive. Just this year. Just be competitive. We can focus on next year when it comes. But just be competitive. Keep doing what you're doing. Stay healthy. And last thing I want to talk about tonight's episode is, didn't get a chance to see this game really, but followed it a little bit, was the big heavyweight matchup between Minnesota Wild and Washington Capitals, which went to a shootout. Game started with Tom Wilson scoring the first, then tied by Ryan Hartman, which was followed by a shorthanded goal by the Wild, giving them a 2-1 lead. And then the great Alex Ovechkin scoring his 871st goal. He's closing in. I hope he gets it. He'll get it. I know he will. Wayne Gretzky's got enough records. Ovechkin needs this one. I'm good with it. But then it just kept going back and forth, and game eventually went to shootout, where Matt Boldy scored the lone goal to secure the win for the Wild. And, Capitals got a point out of it, so somewhat alright with that. And there's also, looks like it's going to be Marc-Andre Fleury's last time playing in Washington. Heck of a career of him. He made 28 saves in tonight's game, and Ovechkin scored his 28th goal against Fleury. I like those coincidence. But yeah, that's it. That's it for tonight's episode. Next one for sure won't be until Sunday. Will be after the Lions game. I'll have my reactions for that game, and then reactions for the end of the season. And hopefully I'll talk about a good note with the Red Wings after their game on Saturday. So thank you for listening, and I'll see you in the next episode.